Hi everyone, this is Amanda Ellis of amandaellis.co.uk and Facebook page Angelic Celestial Colours. In this video I am going to be channeling three energies: Joseph, Mary and Christ. The one that has come through the most strongly over the last couple of days is the energy of Joseph, the father of Jesus. And I remember doing a video a year ago, I think, where I actually talked about I wanted to channel Joseph, and I don't think I ever did it for no other reason, just that other things came in front of the queue really. And it's as though the energy of Joseph has really forced his way right to the front, which I find quite interesting. And Joseph seems to be this character who is of course mentioned in the Gospels. Everybody knows his place in the story of Christ's birth, but there isn't an awful lot that's known about him other than that he was a carpenter, and he is this sort of slightly mysterious figure that gets forgotten. So I feel part of the reason that has been is that he holds a very beautiful, humble energy. But it's right that he's given centre stage here. So that's what I'm going to do. Those of you that watch me regularly know that I use essential oil sprays to help me connect into different energies, and I have got some that I'm going to be using for Christ and Mary. I've also got the Holy Spirit energy as well. Don't know whether we'll have time to do that in this video, but I've got oils that I can help me to connect. But with Joseph it's like, well, where do I start? So I just sat here and thought, where do I start with Joseph? How to bring him through? And I heard, go and get a piece of wood. So that's what I've done. I've actually got a piece of wood in front of me that's not any old piece of wood. This is actually a piece of wood that is an icon that was made for me by one of you. You know who you are. I was gifted this year. And I can see you right now in my mind's eye with your red hair. I'm sorry, your name's just momentarily gone out of my mind, but you know who you are and I know who you are. Thank you. She made these. It actually shows a depiction of the Last Supper. I don't know whether it's bark or I'm not sure what it is, but anyway, it's wood. And I felt drawn to pick this up because even though it shows the Last Supper wouldn't have ever happened if the energy of Christ hadn't been very well protected and cradled, not just from the Heavenly Father, but from the earthly parents that he came into. I don't want to get into the whole territory of the virgin birth. What I want to say and what I feel very strongly is that a father is the one that brings you up. Okay, a father is the one that brings you up. And Joseph took on that role. He took on that role of being the one to bring up the boy Christ and to help steer him into early adulthood, and who then had to watch the story play out. And isn't it interesting, as I sort of sit here thinking about this, that we know a lot about Mother Mary and her reaction to Christ's death. She's there at the foot of the cross. I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying that. She's certainly mentioned though, you know, later on in the story, as it were. But Joseph, I'm struggling to remember where he is in the latter years of Christ's life. He must have been there. Now, even if it says something in the Gospels, you'll tell me, I'm sure, the fact that I'm struggling to remember is almost reflective of this fog around his character. Because believe you me, I've sat through many church services over the years. I don't any longer go to church. I've talked about that in previous videos, but I went for decades. I know the Gospels very well. I actually did a religious knowledge A-level of all things, and I grew up in a family, went to church regularly. I've sat through many nativity plays. It's like, yes, we know Joseph in terms of being around the manger. We know him as being the one who helped, obviously, lead the donkey and Mary and find the room at the inn. But then it's like he just seems to disappear in this puff of smoke. But yet he can't have. So let's try and fit in some of the missing pieces, but also let's just hear what it is that he wants to say today on the 2018 approachment to Christmas, going into a new year. So let's just connect into the energy of wood, and I'm also going to connect into the energy of the earth from which wood comes. Let's just spray the earth elemental to help link myself into the energy of Joseph. And as I do that, before anything comes through, the train arriving, did you hear that? Never hear that from this window. Okay, the train arriving in the platform. Okay, he's here. Let's just feel his energy then. Let's just link into the energy of Joseph. And to link into the energy of Joseph, you need to go into your heart space. And you need the doors to be wide open in your heart. So let's just breathe into our heart. And out. And open doors in our heart, and they are made of wood. The doors are made of wood. And into that space, we meet the energy of Joseph. The door's just flown open. I just see a channel of pure white light in front of me, and it's strong. And it's here to, it's really here. Dignity, responsibility, duty, steadfastness, grace, a tall man, a man of few words, but mighty presence. His presence was enough to ward off any person seeking harm to Christ as a small child, without taking away from the Christ child the sovereignty that he had in being able to also look after himself. But as a father of this boy, this strong, mighty presence that hovered over the energy of Christ as a small boy. Like a mountain, I'm being shown. Like a mountain. And like a mountain, very grounded energy, very solid structure, steadfast, strong. A man who, like Moses, had climbed the mountain to higher wisdom and who had brought that back down the mountain to be of service in some way. The energy of Moses feels more for the collective, the giving of the 10 Commandments. With Joseph, there was this union with the ultimate Father, for him to be the bridge and be the earthly father of the Christ child. He's showing me the manger in which Christ was lain, made out of straw, and we know it was within a stable. And he's saying he had crafted a beautiful cradle of wood which never got used, had to be left behind. He's drawing my attention to wood now as a powerful agent of change to help us in these times we are in. He is talking about if you cut open a tree, you will see the circles and you can see the age of the tree, can't you? From the pattern within the trunk. You can tell the age of something by looking at the lines within the wood. And he's saying, so therefore by holding any piece of wood, or indeed a tree, but this is more practical guidance for the age that we're in, to have wood around us will help us transition into the new age, because you don't transition into a new age without taking with you heritage, history, and resource. All of that is within wood. He's asking you to source and look for and find a piece of wood that you may already have in your home, or maybe there waiting to be discovered, which will be something that you carry with you through next year. He's showing me, in the same way that they were guided to the stable by the star in the sky, that the wood in your pocket that you carry through 2019 can be a guiding totem, not from the celestial sky as the star was above the stable, but from the earth, a symbol from the earth. I'm being shown the piece of wood can be as simple as a twig or a branch, or it can be as ornate as some beautiful carving. It doesn't matter what it looks like, it matters that you have it, he says. So a way to connect to the energy of Joseph is through the energy of wood. He taught Christ all he knew also about carpentry. It came from him. I'm being shown by him the burning of trees, and he's concerned about the burning of the rainforests in particular. as well as concern for the human cost of forest fires closer to home. He's very intricately connected into the energy of trees and of wood. It's one way that you can connect into his energy. My breath is within the forest, he says, as is my Father's breath. The breath of God, the breath of Source is within the wood of the forest, which is why so many of you feel at peace when you are within woodland. What else do you have to bring through, Joseph? There's a message coming through linked into I want to get this right in terms of what he's trying to say. Because it could easily be misconstrued. We live in a very politically correct world, and what I'm being shown is he's talking about roles of men and women, and respecting the fact that we live in this world where women can do men's jobs and men can do women's jobs. Is there such a thing anymore? You know, it's just such a... It's not trying to get into that. It's more about, he's talking about the role of men as supporters, enablers that allow the divine feminine energy to flourish, not from a way of trying to control situations or the person, but very much I'm being shown his relationship with Mary as being one where he was just this beautiful umbrella, shelter, support for her, which allowed her to then blossom and grow beneath that awning, that energetic awning. And it's almost like it's the opposite thing from codependency, where male and female, or either, whatever sex it is, partnerships cling on to each other for love or money, you know. And he's talking about union between partners, whereby you allow each other to grow and be who you are. So in the case of Mary, his wife, she was given this role to bring forward the child, the Christ child, to be the mother, and for her to be able to fulfill her mission, she needed him to be strong, steady, the mountain that I can see him as. But yet it wasn't a mountain that dwarfed her own light. It provided safety and a receptacle around her for her to be able to grow. So he's just showing me this relationship between the two of them being very beautiful, very compatible, very balanced, neither one being more stronger or weaker than the other, both very much their own sovereign beings and strong in their role and their mission, but equally having the humility to know and understand and appreciate the other's part in the story, the two pieces that came together to bring in this energy of the boy child Christ and raise him. What was it like raising him? What was it like raising him? more challenging than you would believe, is what I'm being told. And that is because as he grew, he needed to rebel and become the peaceful revolutionary that he was. He was there to challenge the status quo of that time 2,000 years ago, and is still challenging the status quo now. To be able to have held that energy meant that that was with him through all stages of his growth. And as a child, I'm being shown him as very strong-willed, and Joseph and Mary struggling because the traditional way of parenting didn't necessarily work with our boy. We had to find new ways to accommodate his energy, his growth, his very beingness. And we also needed to ensure that we didn't lose our sense of identity in that process. Yes, we were vessels to bring through this light and to nurture it and to support it, but we also recognized ourselves as reflections of that light. And so to not lose ourselves in the process was at times hard. But any parent knows it's not always easy. He wouldn't have ever, I'm talking about Joseph, he wouldn't have ever had to say too much to the rebellious boy child. It was in the look. It was in the look and this presence, this commanding presence that Joseph still has. Why don't you feature in the later years? Why is it not there? Where were you? What were you doing? Where were you? What were you doing, Joseph? I'm feeling this separation of energy. Of him travelling back to wherever it was that they originally came from. I'm seeing him holding this light and taking it back to where they originally came from, their hometown, because he knew that at higher self level, he knew that after Christ's death, Mary, his wife, would need a safe, loving and stable home to come back to. He knew what eventually was to happen, and he knew it was unstoppable, and he knew there was going to be pain, and it's the energy of I'm going to keep the home fires burning is the energy that I'm picking up. I needed to keep the home fires burning. That's what I'm sensing that he did. So his energy was into maintaining that security for Mary after the death of Christ. Because even if resurrection happened, again, don't want to get into the story, it's a bit like when you lose somebody, when somebody dies, you know that they're still with you and around you, but for a mother not to be able to physically hold her child was always going to be difficult for Mary. And so he felt the best way to help her would be to keep the home fires burning and to be able to have a very safe environment for her to go back to. And he says he threw his energy and his pain into what he's calling his work. But again, he's taking me back to wood. He's taking me back to working with wood. He's saying he built houses for his community. And I'm seeing this in the latter years of his life. him involved in the construction of homes. Literally, I'm seeing wooden pillars and beams. And I'm also being shown that he was doing work that was above his station. No, sorry, that he was above what he was doing. So it's almost as though he was really rolling his sleeves up and getting involved in, you know, the very, I don't know, the dirty manual work that goes into building a house. Whereas actually his knowledge and his wisdom of not just the wood, but also I'm hearing the engineering side of being able to build homes. Although he could do that, he channeled his pain and his sorrow into helping other people. And he would have literally been one of the people there, you know, putting the nails into the wood, you know, putting the stakes into the ground, all weathers. So he was very much part of the community there, and he was very respected. He had some friends who stayed loyal to him right to the end, who knew the whole story. Some of the younger people that he helped towards the end of his life, it feels as though they didn't necessarily know who he really was and what his story was. I'm feeling that strongly, that some of them, towards the latter end of his life, some of the younger people that he helped didn't always know who he was and his role and what had happened to him, what his life story was, and what an exceptional human he was. But he felt no need to shout that from the rooftops. There is just this amazing humbleness that comes out of every pore of him. A worker, a builder, a carpenter, a good man. What else? Joseph. What do you have to say to us today, Joseph, at this particular time upon our earth? Okay, he's wanting to come back in and help men to father children. By that, I'm going to go back. What he's talking about, what I'm being shown, is the huge number of children that are being brought up without fathers. Men who are, for whatever reason, have not been able to step up to the plate and be the father that children need. I'm being shown a lot of black communities in particular where this is rife, and there is complete compassion for why this is happening. It's not just, of course, about the black community. It happens all around the world. But for some reason, he wants to help some of the black communities in particular countries. And it's where the father figure is completely and utterly absent. And the father is absent because of ancestral wounding, but also from not being able to, no role model in terms of what is a father, what do fathers do, what are the responsibilities, but also nobody there to mentor the father, nobody there to support the father. And he's saying, I can help with this, I can help with this. And he's saying, my struggle at the moment is that the men that need me are not even aware that I'm around or am offering this role. So he's asking for anybody watching this video that knows of some family or, you know, situation in your community, or even if you don't know anybody, you just know of the problem of many children growing up without fathers. He's saying, direct me to their door. You know, it's almost like just help me, be the bridge. Help me to open hearts here. Help me to open doorways so that I can enter particular communities. I'm being shown particular communities. I am being drawn to America. I'm being drawn to the Bronx, actually, straight away. I'm being drawn to the Bronx, and I'm being told that there is somebody watching this video who has a connection to the Bronx, who who can literally hold the light there for Joseph. Hold the light there for Joseph to come into that community. He's saying all that is required is somebody opens the door for me there, because humans and earth, the law of free will states that I have to be invited in. Okay, I have to be invited in. I can't just sweep in around. I have to be invited in, and it needs a connection on earth, somebody that's near that community or near that family, just to open the door if this message resonates and say, Joseph, you're needed in this street, or Joseph, you're needed around this family, or Joseph, you're needed around this country. And he's actually asking for help with that. Okay, so that's a message that's gone through, but it applies to all countries around the world, all communities and people of all colours. But there is something with the black community in particular where he's saying, I've heard the cries of the children, and I'm feeling quite upset by that. I'm hearing the cries of the children, and I want to help. Please help me to help them. Okay. Because he was the ultimate earthly father. He was a man of no ego. He was a man of complete love, and the template that he planted here 2,000 years ago, it's as though, I don't know why it's taken us so long, but it's like we're finally starting to recognize that here is somebody who wasn't just Christ's father. Here was somebody who was an important teacher in his own right, and who wants to come back to help this planet now. So that's a call from my heart and his heart to anybody that's been touched by that message to please call him in. How do we call you in, Joseph? With no fanfare, he says, straight away, with no fanfare. You just simply ask. Ask and I shall be there. I'm hearing the sound of my daughter. She's wrapping some Christmas presents, and I'm hearing the sellotape going, and he's saying one way that would be a physical, practical thing for you to do would be to literally buy a gift. Buy a gift for a child that has nothing to open on Christmas Day. So in the UK we have, you go into any supermarket and there are these big baskets, and you can buy a gift for a child, and you just put it into the supermarket area, and they get given to families. Or it can be a case of, if you can afford it, of course, but if you can afford it, somebody homeless that's on the street. I remember a couple of years ago I went and I just bought a whole bag of goodies for somebody, and I just went up and I gave it to this girl, and it wasn't about wasn't about me, it was about her. It was about doing something very simple for somebody. But in that way, I'm obviously a woman, I can't be a father, but I was offering a parental energy to that girl on the street that I saw that I knew had nothing. So he's saying in that way, all of you can just hold that parental energy, and just if you can give, please do. Okay. He's also reminding me about the wood that needs to be worked with next year. Anybody that works with wood already, he's saying that I'm right beside you. Again, you can call me in more to help you with that. He's saying Christ is also there as well, but so am I. Anything else, Joseph, just as we move on from this? Any other message? No, that's enough for now, he's saying. Okay. He wants to open up the floor to Mary, so we're going to do that now. Let's just pause for one moment. I'm also going to reach for a spray linked into Mary. I'm just going to pause the camera actually at this point and go and get it. Okay, we're going to bring in the energy of Mother Mary now. And as soon as I just changed the energy, I've got all these animals making noises around me. There's dogs barking out of the window. Bella has just been barking downstairs. And I went up actually to retrieve some sprays that are samples of a potential Mother Mary spray that we're going to be launching next year. To be honest, we were going to be launching it in 2018, but been too busy, and I wanted to make sure it was right. And I've just gone upstairs and I've actually got 5 different versions of this spray. I've got 5 different versions. I hadn't realised we'd done 5 of them. So I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, which one? But as soon as I looked at them, I was thinking, yeah, but in a way there's a message there. Because what Mary's saying is there isn't any one way of mothering. You know, how many different ways of mothering are there? And then we have the animals, you know, straight off, you know, setting off as soon as we bring the Mother Mary energy in. And I'm being shown a lioness, you know, protecting her cubs. So it's just really interesting. So I'm not sure what's going to come through for Mary. I've been aware that she's been around me as a guide for many, many years. I've said that before on other videos, and I often link into her via song in particular. Let It Be, love that, love that, love that song, Let It Be. Singing words of comfort, let it be. In my hour of darkness, she comes to me. It's all about Mary, isn't it? It's beautiful. I love that song. So that one links to Mary for me. I've got a couple of things I'm just going to show you. I'm just trying to warm up here, getting her energy in, letting Joseph go and allowing Mary in. Got this beautiful card from one of my friends, Anchor, yesterday, Anchor and Terry. It's really lovely. I wanted to show that to you. Isn't that a beautiful, peaceful energy of her there? Okay. Love it. Love that. Love that card. Bought this little mother, I don't know, statue, whatever it's called, in the summer, and it really spoke to me, and I've just got it here. I'm going to hold it actually as I try to tune into Mother Mary. Right, which of these sprays shall we use? Let's use this one. Mother Mary. I'm hearing the carol, O Holy Night. And I'm sensing, I'm going back 2,000 years with her to the days before birth. And that sense of sheer terror, excitement, anxiety, and overwhelming love that you feel. But I'm also linking into her worry at that time. A worry for her unborn child. Worry for his future. Worried for what was to become of them. Worried for where the hell was she even going to, you know, give birth to this child. The reassurance that Joseph gave her. The security that he gave her. How important he was in this whole story. Not just to her, but to all of it. Really mirroring back what he had also just been saying, although he wasn't coming from ego. Saying what he said. Picking up her sense of worry though, which is interesting. And I think she's allowing me to feel that because she knows that as mothers, that's what we do a lot of the time. We worry, we try not to. I had a situation a few weeks ago with one of my girls and I was worried. I was really worried about something. Linked into her, and I said to a friend, I said, as mothers, even those of us that are mothers with spiritual tools, it's so easy when you're faced with a problem to I've said this before in my last video, to forget the spiritual tools. So was I, during this problem, thinking of my child in the highest possible light and envisaging that? No, I was doing the other thing. I was worrying about, oh my God, what's going to happen? And is that going to lead to this? And is that, I was going the other way. And that's not because I'm a fraud and I don't do what I'm asking other people to do. It's because when you're a parent, it's really hard sometimes. And we fail and we don't always hold. It's just hard. It's just hard. And it was Mary as well as my friend who just brought in this energy of, it's okay, you're doing your best. Don't worry that you feel that you weren't able to hold that highest vision at that time. And that's what I'm being shown here by her. She was saying I had moments like that before he was even born, of worrying about what was to happen and what was to come. But she said I was guided, as you will be guided. And now I also can guide you, having gone through that process. So there's this, and that is my daughter just texting. Sorry, I know this, I'm just going to have to, sorry, I'm going to reply. Because that's the reality. I'm a mother who channels. So, dual roles. Back to Mary. Yeah, she says, I understand. Okay. Okay, Mary. Let's link into the message that you have for us at this time, please. She's saying, never has the world needed more mothering. Not smothering, mothering. Never has the world needed more of a maternal hug. Never has the world more needed love. Never more has the world needed to be coming from heart space rather than mind and ego and fear. Let me help you. Let me help anybody that comes to me. Let's just link into her energy and just let it pour through. So let's just take a deep breath in together. And she's coming in on a blue ray, but also I want to bring in the lime green. The green energy is around her as well. Mother Mary. Ear chakras are going. Breathe in. Allow her in. Ear chakras are going. I'm hearing whoever wants to listen to their mother. But she says a mother, a true mother, coming from the right place, from love, which she is, has pearls of wisdom to share. Do not close your ears off from me. Open your ears to hear what it is that I have to say. Open your ears to hear the sounds of love. And open your hearts to feel a true mother's love. She says, I know some of you have never had that. I'm just being shown that she has love for every single person that needs her. A huge capacity to love and to support and to heal and to hold you. How would we describe her energy coming through? Soft, sublime, harmonious, gentle, loving. but she's not a doormat energy. She's got this steel. She's showing me herself as a smaller woman in stature. I'm not feeling her as being very tall. I'm seeing her, she's presenting herself as smaller in stature, but just with this, again, the eyes. It's like she's looking and her eyes are powerfully strong. There's steel inside this energy. I was going to say feeling as though it's particularly an energy for children, but that isn't correct. Because it really does feel it's like inclusive to everybody, any age, children and people in their 90s and everything in between. And she's there in every dimension. I'm being shown her the other side of the veil, holding babies and infants and children that have passed over. It's like she's cradling them, she's soothing them, and they're at complete peace with her. But then in the blink of the eye, she's there right beside you now. She's omnipresent, she's everywhere. Very connected into the energy of water. I was linking into sea creatures. I was seeing something. I'm seeing like an octopus. I always think octopuses get a bad rap spiritually. I don't know why. Because I'm seeing this. It's just this energy of this like arms and going everywhere. She reaches everywhere. And the example of an octopus is quite interesting because it's almost as though if she's needed somewhere, I'm seeing like she reaches out this tentacle. And I think tentacles have got like these suctions on them on the bottom of their pads. And it's like she's there and she will stay there until the job is done. Nothing will move her from that post. So she will be there. She can be like in China and then she's also the other side of the world. I mean, I know they can all do this, but I'm really feeling the expansiveness of her energy and that she's absolutely everywhere. It's just like these strands of energy of hers just going out all around the world. Very beautiful. But the energy of water and sea creatures and shells, very much like Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene is also linked into the energy of shells, water, Galilee. I'm being taken to Galilee. I'm being taken to Galilee, where I know that Mary Magdalene also walked, but I'm seeing now Mother Mary there as well. And she's saying that the sound of water soothed Christ through his life. It soothed him, and it soothed her also. So she links to the energy of water. She's very connected into the energy of water, and she's connected into the energy of water because water links into the emotions. The emotions link into the heart. So water, sitting beside water, being in water, being around water animals, or things that link to beaches, rivers, they all seem to, they all lead back to her. Very much like a river links back to the sea, the oneness of the sea. And that analogy of the octopus is quite interesting because I'm being shown now, it's almost like the sea is her. It's like a sea of love. But from that sea of love, there are all these rivers and tributaries and streams and waterfalls that just flow from her and then back to her as well. So she's like, and of course, I guess that makes sense, doesn't it? Because if she is embodying the earthly mother, although she's also a heavenly mother as well, life comes from the mother. The mother energy is the giver of life. So she's showing me herself as the sea, as the beautiful. As I'm being shown the sea of love, and she's saying to be. One way to be of service to her actually is to help to clean up the waters of the world, to clean up the oceans. I'm being shown the plastics in the oceans, and she's concerned about that as well because she knows that the state of the waters in the world represents and is reflective of the state of the waters within ourselves. Our emotional body links into the physical water body that is out there on our planet. And she's asking you to envision the waters of the world being very pure. I'm being shown water on other planets by her. It's interesting. I've never thought about it before, but she feels as though her energy links into other star systems, excuse me, and other planets. It isn't just linked into Earth. Again, the analogy of like this, you know, tentacles and things, strands of energy reaching out everywhere. She's reaching out into the cosmos. This isn't just an energy that's linked into Earth. She seems to have like a custodian role, a guardianship role that links into the wider universe. So she's huge. She's just, her energy is huge. Wow, okay. What else, Mary? How can you help us at this time, Mary? By seeing it through. By seeing it through. What she means by that is it's a bit like when you become a parent. You have to see it through to the bitter end. It's very easy to become a parent and just think of the, you know, the cuddly baby in your arms that looks picture perfect and always sleeps through the night. Well, that's a myth. But in all seriousness, it's like being a mother, being a parent, holding that parental energy. You see it through. You see it through for all the stages, and it never ends. You never stop being a parent. You never stop being a mother. I remember my grandfather saying that about my mum when she was in her, I don't know, 60s. And he was in his 80s, and he said, and mum was complaining about, you know, he was interfering or something or trying to help. And he said, you know, Angela, you don't understand. You never stop being a parent. And it's true. Now I'm a parent, I completely get that. So there's this thing about seeing it through is what she's saying. But she's talking here about, yes, that's a message for those of us that are parents. And it's like she wants to help you with every single stage, because she knows every single stage can be challenging, can also be beautiful. But it's also about see through the birth of this new world, this new age that wants to come in. She's saying, I'm seeing it through. I will be here through all the stages. And she's saying, and I have been through all the stages in other galaxies, in other star systems. It's almost as though, I mean, she's an ancient one. She's more ancient than I had appreciated. And what's really interesting about linking into her energy right now is that she isn't just connected into the Earth and the stories of this Earth. She's linked into the stories of other planets. She's been the great mother on other planets. She's seen through huge transitions and changes in different places in our universe. And so therefore, she's actually comes through more like the wise grandmother as well as the mother. She's a very steady presence for us to call in as the Earth goes through collective wobbles and its whole ascension process, as well as ourself. How do we connect into you, Mary? Through breath. I'm hearing we connect into her through breath. And I'm being shown the analogy of when a baby is first born. And a baby's first born and everybody waits for the first breath. And sometimes you have to slap them on the, well, not slap them on the back, give them a little pat on the back to get the baby, you know, breathing if it hasn't taken its breath. And then everyone breathes a sigh of relief when the baby takes its first breath. So there's this thing about, and of course when you die, you take your last breath. So the thing about breath being linked into her energy. So let's just see if she can give us a little exercise here linked into breath. Okay, she's talking about deep breathing. She's saying start low. Get away from this shallow breathing that we all do when we're in panic or stress or fear. She's saying take the breath low into the body. Take it as low as it will go. So take a nice deep breath in without forcing it. And take it deep. What I'm actually being shown is a staircase of breath. And the number of steps on the staircase is going to be different for everybody, because what she doesn't want to do is put anybody through a breathing exercise, which is actually aimed to help connect to her, which is going to send you into feeling lightheaded or, you know, just being uncomfortable for you, because everybody breathes differently. But the practice effectively is a series of breaths into the body, and I'm being shown a series of steps. And what I'm being shown is the first step. As you breathe in and you connect into her energy, you call her in. It's like you breathe in Mother Mary. That's what you're being asked to do. You'll find that the energy maybe only goes to here. Maybe it's stuck here. Don't force it if on the next breath it won't go any further. This is almost like a meditative practice that you ramp up over weeks, months, and maybe years. But what I'm shown of eventually is you arrive at a series of steps where you breathe her energy in. It maybe goes to here. You allow it out, and you take your next breath in, and it goes to here, and you breathe it out, until eventually you're going right to the bottom. You know, you're going really into the bottom of your stomach, and what that's doing is it's on the breath that you're bringing her in. When you release, you're releasing the emotional energy that is needing healing, stagnant, stuck. So you're bringing in Mother Mary's light into the body, and you're releasing any resistance, stress, tension, anxiety, illness on the out breath. So you're bringing in her love and her energy, and she represents life. She's the giver of life. And you're releasing anything that is stuck. You will eventually get to a point where nothing is stuck, and you can just simply breathe her energy in and breathe her energy out. And on the outward breath, you can then direct that to anybody or anything that needs it. Okay? Right. Let's just see. Anything else, Mary? I'm not going to say I am going to say the obvious things, okay. The obvious thing is roses. I mean, I'm looking at the picture from the Kyle Gray deck, okay. There she is with her roses. And even this top today, look at me, I'm covered in roses. Well, yeah, they're roses. So yes, roses, flowers. I'm saying obvious, there's nothing wrong with the obvious. It's just, there's nothing wrong with the obvious at all, actually. I don't even know why I said that. So roses, okay. Planting a rose bush, she's saying, in your garden, planting it with the intention that it belongs to her energy and allow it to bloom. Sometimes also when the rose gets blighted, you know, by flies or anything else, it's indicative, it can be indicative, not always, but it can be indicative of literally like a barometer of love. And it might be to do with your own barometer of self-love. Are you looking after yourself properly? So look at the rose as an expression of how you love, whether you're able to love unconditionally, but equally whether you are loving yourself as well. I'm also being shown those it doesn't have to be a great big rose bush, you know, if you haven't got a garden. I'm being shown the little miniature roses that you can just buy in a pot. They're quite cheap, actually. Having something like that on your desk. So roses are important. She's saying, yeah, don't diss the roses. Diss isn't her word, that's my word, but that's the feeling coming through from it. Yeah, because that's what she's like. She's like the mum. She'll give you a little bit of a, you know, not quite ticking off, but she'll correct you, you know. So she's corrected me there about the roses. That's fine. Again, and that's good, because when you get corrected by a higher power, bless that and give thanks to that. Because if you don't, you're just coming from ego, thinking that you know it all. You know, none of us do. That's why we turn to these higher powers to remind us of what actually is within us anyway. Okay? Let's just see. Mary, anything else to say? That I love you. Yes. Thank you. I know you do. And I know you love everybody watching this. And she's wanting you to know that she loves you. It's an interesting message. I'm being drawn to her lips. Can you see her lips there on this card? I'm being drawn to her lips, and I'm being drawn to the gesture of a kiss. She's talking about the kiss that betrayed Christ. Judas betrayed Christ with a kiss. And I'm also being shown, it's particularly in celebrity culture, you know, where people go, moi, moi, and they don't even bother to touch your face. There's something about a kiss when it's genuine is almost one of the most beautiful things that you can give somebody else. It doesn't have to be linked into sexuality, by the way. It's just about kissing somebody on the cheek as an act of true love. And she's saying that's what we do to you. We will kiss you on your head. We will anoint you on your head with a kiss. So be conscious of the kiss as an energy. And she's saying, kiss your inner child. Kiss your inner child. How beautiful is that? Okay, my battery light is flashing, so it's about to switch off. So I am going to leave it there for now, and I'm going to come back to the Christ energy in a day or two at some point over the Christmas and New Year, because I think that's enough actually for now. Those two beautiful energies of Joseph and Mary, I feel like I'm complete with them for the time being, and the Christ energy will come through separately. But how beautiful were they? I really hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed bringing them through for you, and sending you all much love. Bye-bye for now.